When building a plan for retirement, I would encourage you to take a step back and think about your retirement as this grand structure. And that structure is being held up by 5 key pillars. And every true successful retirement plan has these 5 pillars. Number 1, investments. You have to grow money and have assets in order to retire. Number 2, income. If you don't have income in retirement, you aren't going to be able to stay retired. Number 3, taxes. We grew the money, we generated income, but what's the tax consequence of it, and could we be more efficient? Number 4, healthcare. One of the biggest red flags out there that gets often overlooked by the financial advisory world is healthcare. If there's a major medical issue in retirement, how do we plan for that? And then number 5 is what we refer to as legacy or estate planning. Legacy planning is, what do you want your money to do when you're gone? Who does it go to? What are important goals for you to achieve? Basically, you get to call the shots. Estate planning is making sure there's an effective and efficient transfer of your wealth that honors those wishes you have. But those are the 5 key pillars of a successful retirement. And if we picture that structure being held up by those 5 pillars, what we've learned over nearly 16 years of sitting down with thousands of families is, if one of those pillars is missing, or if one is cracked or broken, or what is the most common thing, if one of the pillars is holding up more weight than it was designed to withhold, then it runs the risk of causing problems with the structure itself. If, as an example, the most common thing we see is when we sit down with someone and say, what is your plan for retirement? And they say, well, here's my investment accounts, right? A Fidelity account, a Vanguard account, a T. Rowe Price account, a Schwab account, whatever it is. We say, what's your plan? They say, here are my investments. And we say, great job. Congratulations. You've accumulated these assets. What is your financial plan? What is your plan to manage healthcare risks in retirement? What is your plan to ensure that you don't outlive your money, which is the #1 fear of retirees? What's your plan to minimize Uncle Sam's tax burden on your dollars you've been saving for the last 40 years? What's your plan to ensure that this money transfers to your loved ones in a meaningful way with parameters that honor your wishes and your requests? That is a plan. Your investments alone are not a plan. And so when we're looking at this structure being held up by all 5 of these, investments typically becomes the most common one that someone is trying to use to hold up everything. And what we can tell you from years of experience is that no one pillar was designed to compensate for the lack of the other ones being gone. And a simple analogy I like to think about is a car. If we ask someone, said, hey, what kind of car do you have? They're not going to answer the question by describing their engine. Or if we say, hey, what kind of car do you drive? They're not going to describe it by telling you what types of tires they have, or what their transmission is, or whether it's a manual or automatic. Are all of those pieces a part of a car? Absolutely. If you have an engine by itself, it's not a car. Wheels, doors, windows by themselves, not a car. Transmission by itself, not a car. You get the point. It takes combining all of them into one piece of equipment to create a vehicle. And it's the same concept when it comes to retirement, which is why our Retire Forward process looks at those 5 key pillars, because each one as a standalone is not a plan. Is it a crucial and fundamental plan? A crucial or fundamental part of a plan? Absolutely. You can't have a retirement plan without investments. You can't have a retirement plan without income. But by themselves, they are parts of the whole. And that is an interesting concept that a lot of people, rightfully so, have not fully grasped. And we don't blame them. If you think about it, the industry is the problem. Let's say, for example, you're 65 years old. You're getting ready to retire, let's say in 2 years, at age 67. And for the last 40 years, right, since the age of, let's say, 27, 25 years old, you've been working. And the one goal you've had is to save money in your 401k or a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, but you were putting money into your investments to grow your portfolio, which will fuel your retirement. And for 30 or 40 years, you focused on one thing: investments, growing your assets. And understanding that what got us here won't get us there, and that mental switch that we have to make is difficult. It's unlearning 30 or 40 years, and more importantly, it's not just unlearning 30 or 40 years of what you've done, it's unlearning 30 or 40 years of what has worked. because it got you to this point. And the industry, by and large, has done a pretty poor job of saying, fantastic, you've got to this point. You've climbed the top of the mountain. Well, now it's time to descend. And are the tools you use climbing up the same tools you use climbing down? Or are there tools, for an example, that you maybe didn't use the entire climb up, but now you need for the climb down? It's the same concept when it comes to retirement. And our Retire Forward process looks at each one of these 5 pillars to make sure that clients have a 5 of 5 plan for retirement. And they understand that each pillar has been carefully thought through, planned for, accounted for, and is not missing, nor is it holding up weight it wasn't designed to withstand. If you're not crystal clear, if you're not 100% sure that you have a 5 of 5 plan for retirement, I would encourage you, come see us. You can call, you can go to our website, request a meeting, but come in, sit down with our team of advisors, and let's see if our Retire Forward process can give you the clarity and confidence you need to know that each one of those 5 pillars is taken care of, so you can go out and enjoy the retirement that you've worked so hard for, the retirement you've earned over those last 20, 30, or 40 years of hard work.